Hello everyone, welcome to episode 33 of Show Fever. Today we'll be going over Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, just to preface, I have actually only ever played the remastered version of Prime 1. However, I'm a fan of the larger Metroid series. I've played Super Metroid, the original. I've played, the original as in Metroid on the NES. I've played Fusion, a little bit of Zero Mission, Dread, and I think the only one of the mainline series games that I don't have access to at the moment is Samus Returns 2 on the 3DS. But I do have the original of that, which is Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. But yeah, so this is actually my second foray into the Metroid Prime series, and I was very excited to get it because I really did enjoy Metroid Prime 1. I loved it. I loved the game design, the level design, the bosses, everything. Because, I mean, it was just Metroid in 3D, so I was like, hey, this is really enjoyable. And I was kind of disappointed when I first heard that Prime 4 was coming out, because I was like, crap, I'm not going to be able to play this because I won't have access to 2 or 3, because I don't own a GameCube or a Wii, or a Wii U to play Wii games. So I was like, crap, I'm not going to be able to play Prime 4, but I really want to play Prime 4. But then I eventually learned that it is actually the beginning of a new saga in the Metroid Prime series. So you don't need any prior knowledge from like 2, 3, other M, or even 1 to understand what is going on in Prime 4. So just to start off with, we have the case here, which is the normal design. I love that the Switch 2 games have the spine art, because that's one thing I feel like the Switch 1 missed out on, like with a lot of opportunities, was the spine art. Yeah. Then you got the back, pretty cool spread right there. And then the interior just has a flyer for Nintendo Switch Online, and you have a little drawing Samus there. Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of go over the story first, which isn't, this is one of the gripes I have with it, because I don't really expect much of a story from Metroid. I just expect the usual, like, a planet's going to explode, the Metroids are involved, and the space pirates are involved somehow. However, this did take a different spin on it. So this story focuses on the planet of Vuros, which is home to the Lamorn. Now, the Lamorn were a civilization who were eventually eradicated through the use of green crystals in an attempt to, I guess, kind of like revitalize and establish more plant life in their land, because it's a desert. It's predominantly desert. It's most certainly predominantly desert, as Soul Valley will show you. But and so they attempted to terraform. That's what it's called. They attempted to terraform their land, and they ended up failing this experimentation and getting turned into Grievers. And Grievers are kind of the main enemy you see throughout Prom 4. And the Lamorn get turned into Grievers when exposed to too much of the green energy. It's kind of like radiation in a way. So that's kind of the baseline story. At the end of the game, we see as Samus is transporting this item. I can't even remember what the item's called. It's like the teleporter. And I think it's the teleporter of some sort. And she's defending it, and then eventually the space pirates come and attack, and the teleporter ends up getting loose, and Samus and a couple of the other Galactic Federation members are transported to Vuros. Now, the main goal of on Vuros is to collect the 5 teleporter keys that were left behind by the Lamorn, so that you can teleport off Vuros and back to the Galactic Federation. Now, we first get introduced to Miles McKenzie, because this is actually one of the few Metroid games where there's a lot of interaction with other people, which I feel is kind of detrimental, because I do always really enjoy the lonely nature of the Metroid games. And it wasn't very lonely, even though, I mean, it was still very lonely, because, I mean, there's a bunch of open space and all that, but it just didn't feel Metroid-y. But yeah, so we first introduced to Miles McKenzie. He is a research and development individual, and I believe he's like level 4 or something like that, or above. He's level 3, which is above level 4. But, yeah, so we get introduced to him and Fury Green, and eventually go and fight the boss of Fury Green. They're like, it's called like Servax or something like that, and it's honestly a really good boss. I really enjoyed Servax. It was fun to implement the use of the control beam in the beginning of the game, because the new main power in Prime 4 is the psychic abilities. As you can see, that little stone in Samus' head gives her psychic abilities, which she acquired from the Lamorn upon landing on Vuros, because she is the Lamorn's chosen one. And so she can perform new psychic abilities, such as, I mean, everything else is labeled as psychic, but it's just normal on Metroid, but the only new really thing is the control beam. And the control beam I really did enjoy, because at first I didn't like it, but the control beam, it adds a new spin to, I guess, puzzle solving and game mechanics that I haven't played a game that hasn't yet, because, I mean, at first I didn't like it because I was like, I'm not used to this, I'm not solving puzzles in this way, but as you grow used to it and you develop, it's like, okay, this is quite intuitive. But, yeah, you use that on Servax, and eventually you beat Servax, and then you head on to, you actually go to Flame Pool for a little bit, which is like the lava area. Fury Green is like the grassy area and all that. But then you go to Flame Pool to acquire, I think it's like I think it's the Ice Beam. Yeah, no, it's the the flame beam little thing. And you get it, you ended up going back to Ice Belt, and Ice Belt's the next where you go to. And at Ice Belt, you end up fighting this. You just go through, and eventually you meet up with Tokabi. Tokabi is probably my favorite character among the Galactic Federation individuals that we meet. And meet with Tokabi, and you save Tokabi, who's been stranded here. And y'all essentially return power to the Ice Belt area. And eventually you end up fighting, like, I can't remember what his name is, but it's like this big, like, black magnetic box thing. It was honestly a pretty fun fight, too, because how you had to fight it was you had to destroy the plates on it, because you could, by itself, you could not hit it, but you had to destroy the plates to hit, like, an electric center of it. And this led to a pretty fun, like, just prime, like, just boss battle. And then after that, you ultimately end up going to, well, sorry, I forgot about Volt Forge. Volt Forge is what you go to directly after Fury Green. Now, Volt Forge, it is, it's a pretty good. I really liked Volt Forge. It was fun. I liked getting the viola there and just using it around. And I honestly don't even remember who was the boss for Volt Forge. Oh no, okay, yeah, okay. The metal thing was the boss for Volt Forge, because then once you go to Ice Belt, you meet a Tokabi and all that. That's when you fight this boss who is essentially like a big, like, crustacean looking thing that, like, shoots ice at you and stuff like that. And, like, that is honestly probably not my favorite, probably my second favorite battle is the Ice Belt Ice Belt boss battle, because it was just really enjoyable and it was fun to do. It was fun to dodge, and it was just a fun boss battle overall. That's one thing I feel like Prime 4 does right. Prime 4 does boss battles phenomenally. Like, every boss battle in Prime 4, maybe besides the Solix one. The Solix one was a little bit disappointing to me personally, but everyone besides, like, Solix is a good boss battle. Like, it's really fun, and it uses the mechanics of the game very well. But, yeah, then, like I said, you go to Ice Belt, meet up to Kabi, and then you end up going to Flame Pool, where you meet up with Armstrong and Duke. Now, I do not like either of them, especially not Armstrong, because of something that we will see later on in the Great Minds. But, you go to Flame Pool, and you end up fighting Fenros, who is, like, this big snake thing. That was a really fun boss battle, too, because what you gotta do is he has, like, little blue glowing nodes on his face, and you have to destroy those nodes so you can eventually do damage to his tongue. And it gets hard at points. Like, I'm getting close to finishing. I just went ahead and made this video because I'm really close. I'm, like, at the Solix boss battle for my second playthrough to 100% the gallery. And, yeah, on my second playthrough, it was pretty difficult because I played on hard mode. And it was a fun battle, though. And then, after that, like you said, you move on to the Great Minds. Now, the Great Minds, you gotta do some backtracking and stuff like that, but eventually you end up getting access to the Grapple Ball after fighting a Silux clone in Volt Forge. And then you can go on to... No, do you get the electrical chip? You get the electric chip, and then you got to go back to Ice Belt, and when you're at Ice Belt, that's when you get the Grapple Ball, and then you can go to the Great Minds. Now, at the Great Minds, it is the most boring level design in any Metroid I've ever played, because it is essentially just a hallway. But that doesn't really undermine it, because it still had some fun puzzle solving in it. And I just hated the mechanics so much. Okay, so if you use rockets in the caves of the Great Minds, it summons hundreds of Grievers, and you gotta fight them. And in realism, I believe it's only actually like 3. But still, it gets annoying after a while, because you just can't use your rockets, you gotta use Charge Beam. But Charge Beam is good in this game. But, and you can get an upgraded Charge Beam through green crystals. Gosh, I hate green crystals. But, yeah, so you go along after that, and you eventually get to the boss battle. Now, the Great Hallway, as some people call it, but it's the Great Mind. Like I said, it has the worst level design in all of Metroid Prime 4, but the boss battle is the best in my opinion. Hands down, the boss battle and the Great Minds was so peak. You fight the Omega Griever, who's just a big, bulky Griever, and it is so much fun. Like, I don't know what it is. It's usually like, okay, so you can't damage him on the base. You have to deal damage to his limbs, and then he eventually falls, and you can hit this red core on him. It's just a normal Nintendo boss fight. And, however, as you slowly fight him, more and more, like, I guess, calcified areas start to form on his body, so you can attack less and less of his skin to get him knocked down and all that. So it's just really, really fun. And then when you get towards the end, he ends up dying and releasing the item that you get from him, which I believe is the super missile. Yeah, I think it's super missile. No, it's the big power bomb. That's what it is, power bomb. But it's the psychic bomb, and that's, I believe. But, yeah, he ends up releasing that, and you go and grab it, and he grabs you, and he starts attacking you. It's difficult to get away from that. That can ruin a boss fight. I had one run on him where that ruined my fight, and I was like, well, crap, because I didn't encounter that when I first played it in normal, but then when I played it in hard, I was like, oh, okay. And I went up to him, fell for the trap, and it ruined that fight for me, so I had to redo it. But, yeah. So that is it, and then after that, you go back to Fury Green, meet up with everyone that you've met. You also meet this character in Ice Belt. I forgot to mention him. He's like he's one of the mech pilots, but he's a robot, and you end up meeting him on Ice Belt, and you return back to get the grapple ball. But everyone throughout the Great Mines helps you. There's a lot of like fake deaths in the Great Mines, because one of my least favorite parts in this entire game was when you're breaking rocks with Armstrong. Duke has already died. Tokabi and the mech have already died, and you are fighting through, and you gotta like mine through these rocks. So you find this vehicle, and Armstrong is piloting it to defend the rocks, and you have to like ward off hordes and hordes of grievers. This fight was so annoying on hard mode. It made me so mad. I was hollering from the tops of my lungs. But, yeah, I hated that part so much. Because you do it once, and then you got to do it again for even longer. But eventually I learned the strategy of using the freeze beam and getting many of them down as you could, and hit them with charge beams like crazy. But, yeah. So after the Great Mines, you end up going to back to Fury Green, meeting up, and Miles is like, okay, we got to build a mech so we can break through the wall that's on the Chronos Tower, or the Chrono Tower. And the Chrono Tower is where, like, the teleporter is. And that's where you start the game off at, but then you eventually leave it, and then you gotta come back to it via the destruction of the power shield around it with the mech. So you're gonna click the mech parts, and then you fight, you actually go and collect them, then you go to this one mech part, and it is devoured by an animal. I believe his name is Vamros. And Vamros, I honestly really enjoyed this fight too, because it's solely on Viola. Now, Viola is your bike there, and Viola has multiple attacks. She doesn't have multiple attacks, but she does, because you can shoot like a normal projectile at it. You can like boost and then slide, which I really love doing. It was perfect for farming green crystals, which you have to do in the end game. But yep, so you do that, and once you get all the mech parts, you go back to Fury Green. We end up constructing the mech again, and then you break down the walls, and then you go into the Chrono Tower eventually, and you set up everything, and then you end up fighting Psylocke. Now, the Psylocke boss battle, it was enjoyable, but I just felt like it took a little too long. Like, it had 3 main phases. One of them was just kind of fighting like these dragon things or these little projectiles. Like, we kind of like the Servax fight, except you didn't have to break any like shields off the little like nodes to actually damage him. But yeah, then you have a second phase, which is akin to like the gameplay of Kid Icarus, where it's got an on-rail shooter and you're moving around fighting Psylocke and dodging his attacks. And then you have like a 1v1 with Psylocke, which is probably the best part of the fight. But yeah, then after that you move on, and you're ready to teleport, and then everyone's getting prepared. But then Psylocke comes back, even though you knocked him like to the void of space. And he comes back and he distracts everyone, and they're holding him off so you can get off planet. You get off planet, and then dang, you're there, and everyone else has got left on Vuros. But while doing this, you end up planting the memory fruit once you're back on the Galactic Federation land, or planet, and that's kind of where the game ends. So, in total, I believe the story could have been better, but I don't really expect a great story from Metroid. Now, one of the areas that I believe did really good, that I wasn't ever really expecting much from a Nintendo game, even though there are instances like in Zelda and stuff like that, was a religious aspect. So Tokabi, why I liked him so much is that when you're driving around Soul Valley, which is the main like desert area, it's the open world area of this Metroid game, and you go around and you can meet him occasionally at little Firelink Shrine, little bonfires. And they're really just campfires. But you can meet him there, and you can talk with him, and he kind of goes into detail about his past, and he describes how he believes in a god by the name of Solon. And I thought it was just interesting to kind of explore this belief of Tokabi's and the theology behind it. Yeah, so that was really good. But I guess I can kind of get into my gripes about the game, and one of them is the green crystals. I know everyone who's played Prime 4 has complained about the green crystals, and I'm going to do it again too, because I hate the green crystals. The green crystals, I ended up doing, because on my first run on normal, I did complete 100% everything, 100 scans, all 200% crystals, and 100% items. Now, on my hard run, all I'm doing is 100% items, and trying to get as low as possible on the scans, and my crystals are like 125, just the max to where you can get all the items, because you actually need the crystals to get the items, and you need the crystals to get a key item, but That's the thing. They take so long to grind. Now, if you're conscious about it and you do it throughout the entire game, yes, you'll get a good amount. But until you get the power bomb, which isn't until the end of the 5th, level, then it's gonna take a while. And it's still when I remember when I first when I did my normal run, it took me a while because I didn't know that the green crystals were needed, and then I got to the end, I was like, crap, I got to grind. So I grind for 2 hours and blowing up all the big rocks, getting all the normal green crystals, going back through the shrines again, because they do have shrines in this game, but they're nothing really impressive. They're just kind of little puzzle challenges so you can get upgraded charge shots and all that. But yeah, going through all those again, just trying to find all the green crystals. But eventually you do get a detector for the green crystals, but that's not until relatively later on. But yeah, it was a slog of a grind, and I was not very pleased by that. And really, I wasn't really pleased by Soul Valley in total, because Soul Valley is really empty. I mean, it's a desert, it's supposed to be empty, but it just seemed like there was nothing to it, and I don't believe it was necessary. I believe it could have been cut out, and all of the parts of the world, like in Metroid Prime 1, could have just been connected without having an open world area. So, I was kind of disappointed with Soul Valley. I believe it was undercooked. But, let's see, what else did I have a gripe about? Okay, so this is a very specific gripe to me, because since age 10, I have been an avid walker, and so when I play video games, I walk in place, and I move my arms, and I just kind of shift with the controller like this, and so I've grown used to it. I can play games perfectly fine by doing that. And the problem I had with Metroid Prime 4, like I said, this is a very personal problem, but the problem I had was that when you move the controller, when you're aiming, if you move, it moves the reticle, so you can't aim properly by locking on if you're walking in place like I do, because you're shifting your arms, and that all it messes everything up. So that really made me mad, because I had to sit down for boss battles. I don't like sitting down when I'm playing games. I like to be walking. I like to be burning calories. But, yeah, so it kind of made me mad at, harder points having to sit down, or at boss fights having to sit down. But that's, like I said, it's a really personalized gripe, and that's nothing I can complain to Nintendo, because I doubt they're kind of for the people who walk in place while playing games. But, yeah, I guess... Yeah, because, I mean, when I sat down in a shot with the lock on, it was perfectly fine, so the aiming system's fine. It's just, I wish it didn't have that motion control aspect to it. Now, when I played, I didn't do the mouse controls for Viola. I know that was an option, but I did not end up doing that. I just did the normal analog controls for him. But yeah, so, what else was I going to say? I guess, really, this game, it did slightly disappoint me, because trajectory of it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but it is a good game. I would recommend playing this game. Is it worth $70? No, it is not worth $70. I would say if it was sold for $60, I believe that's probably reasonable. If it was sold for $50, that would be around the dot. $60 would be okay, $50 right on the dot, because this game, it's no better than Metroid Prime 1. 100 times out of 10, I would say get Prime 1 over this, because you'll enjoy it more. That's just the bottom line. You'll enjoy it more. And I believe Prime 4 is $30 or $40 right now. I mean, Prime 1 is $30 or $40. So yeah, if you're thinking about either playing this since it's new in the series or playing Prime 1, play Prime 1. And it's like I said, it's cheaper, it's better. It doesn't have better boss fights, but it is overall more enjoyable. And I don't have any experience with the other Prime games, but I've heard they're really solid, and I just don't think this one reaches the highs of it. But it is a new saga, so it may be just a growing pains thing. And they might just be trying to find a new way to make Metroid Prime games. But yeah. So, overall, I really did enjoy this game. And I just kind of disappointed because I wasn't awed with it. Because I was really hyped to play this game. I was really, really excited. And I just didn't become enamored with it like I kind of did with Prime 1. Like I said, though, the boss fights were really good. If you were looking for good boss fights, get Prime 4, because the boss fights were phenomenal. They were so much fun. They were intuitive. They were hard. Honestly, playing this game on hard mode should have been accessible from the beginning. I hate how they, have unlockables behind hard mode in the gallery, but they won't let you play hard mode until you already beat the game again, so you gotta play the game twice, even though they're not getting anything out of it. They just do it to be, stubborn. But yeah, when I played it on hard, though, the game is a lot more fun when it's on hard. And you can just skip through the cutscenes, and you get to the difficulty. And it was really fun to play it on hard. And I really enjoyed it because it gave me more challenge. Because the bosses are kind of easy if you're not playing on hard. But when you play on hard, you're going to have to go through almost all of them at least 2 or 3 times. So, I really did enjoy the boss fight. Like I said, I love the design. Omega Griever was so sick. And just all around, I did enjoy this game. Like I said, I was kind of disappointed. But, I believe that's everything I really have to say about Prime 4, and all I believe I have for Shelf Review episode 31. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.